Okay, back on here at 1682 desk. Things are not going as swell as I thought since I put this power supply on here. Okay, I put this 490 ohms cold in series with the plate and to the B plus, and it doesn't, red plate is bad, the audio output side. So I thought about those OC2 voltage regulator tubes and the OD3, which is the octo size, which is too big. I thought about that. I thought, well, that's going to just clutter it up, and it's going to create noise for interference. So I thought, and then this is going to generate more heat, and so will the voltage regulator tube. So here's my power supply. I have two diodes in series. Fender Silverface, they use 3 of them in series, so I got them mounted to here. Cathodes this way. This is only a, was it 7.8 something, almost 8 ohms. I used it just because they're brand new and they got long leads, and I thought, well, I can very swiftly hook these diodes to that and put this down here. That's where I had the red wire plate hooked up to on this side of the 47K or 4.7K, and this resistor gained a value. It was reading like 5 point something, and now I think it reads 6 point something, but I could have measured it when it was warm. I know this thing changes value when it gets warm for some reason. So I got my neutral bus line here. This is just a bleeder resistor, but if I went to back to the halfway rectifier and got about 160 volts or whatever it is, I could run this the way it is, and it works good. But that little silly transformer I had is not enough oomph for the filaments of the tubes. And this is a higher, this is a TV tube, so this is higher amperage. It's, you know, they use 7AU7s, 12AU7s and stuff, maybe 12AT7s in TV tubes, but I think they pair them together and use them as 6.3 versus 12.6. I think. So this is a 6C4. That part, you know, is hissy, I guess. Meters, your 20 meters and your different meters are always kind of hissy. This thing here, I think it's going to be a problem no matter what, unless if it gets put into an aluminum box or a steel box. Now, I don't have my shop anymore. I don't have a drill press or nothing, so it's a big deal for me to work with stuff in the boxes. That's why I went to this old-fashioned way. But this can be put in a box. It wouldn't be hard. Drill a hole for that, and then, you know, drill these. It wouldn't be hard, as long as, you know, some of this stuff would have to be shifted down. Same with the 6C4. I'm going to leave this 20 meters here. I like the looks of it, so that's going to stay. But I don't know if this FM oscillator is going to end up on here. I don't think it's going to pass the grade. So I have to deal with this. I was thinking, well, I could have 2 of these, have a push-pull audio amplifier, get rid of the single-ended and have push-pull here, or I could have, if I could find another transformer that's similar, I could have 2 single-ended. You know, I think I'm going to do that regardless with these kind of tubes. This is, you know, tubes I always want to build with. I build circuits for the tubes I like. I know that's effed up, but it's the way it is for me. I could prove that. I do everything wrong. I'll prove it. Today is, I don't remember if I said it, May 21st, 2025, Orange Beginner's Quarter. This is one of my dad's old ones. Let me find the schematic in here. I have to pause this. This is my dad's old one. Okay, this thing here, here's my proof. We got 50L6, 50L6. If I built, I think I do have transformers that could be like this with this crazy secondary stuff. Okay, you got a 12AU7. This is an interesting schematic, your safety feature, and your preamp stuff. Okay, and your, obviously this is a phonograph. This must have been a really good phonograph for, and then it's got a voltage doubler, which I was taught, this is what, so here you got a voltage doubler. Okay, so here's, I was going to build that with 250L6s and, well, I'll have to look at my chassis. I probably re-drilled the holes, I'm looking at it. So I probably was going to use 7025, 12AU7, and this stuff. And do this. Voltage doubler. 50L6s I don't think run that great off a voltage doubler. I don't know. Sounds like a lot of voltage. 205 volts and 135 volts on a grid number 2. Okay, so that's that schematic. There's my dad's railroad stamp. This is number. So I obviously can't do anything like I'm supposed to. I was going to until I thought about this, which I never finished. I can't get the filaments working correctly at this time. I was going to use these tubes. I was going to use a 12SN7, either like 6EJ7s, 48J7s, or whatever I can get to work in here. But I can't get the filaments to work. If I go with the, and then I quit. I have a, right now I have a 50GY7, because I got to eat up all that electricity that's sitting around. And then I have this here. If I use 2 of those 50-volt filaments, there's not enough voltage. And then I have this one here, which is 33GY7. And I think the 33GY7 takes an awful long time to warm up, and it runs cold. So I cannot get these things like figured out. That's why I have these, like I call them the 17BF11 tube sockets. I couldn't really get the filaments to work the way I wanted, so I can go back to 50L6s, just remove these, but I'm stuck with an octo size tube here. But I think I do have some tube sockets from a good Silverface Fender I built a long time ago. I got these tube sockets that will mount in here that come. I still have them. So this is why I say never do anything proper. I absolutely refuse to. So I find the tubes I like. I was going to use these damper sides for the voltage doubler. And I don't even know if that'll work. They might just blow up. I'm not sure. But anyways, so that's that. And I got overkill on these transformers. These are getting damaged. Shit. I got to use better care with this. I throw it around more than I don't know. Them are for a pair of 6BQ5s. I don't have proper single-ended transformers, I guess. So to this thing here, I like I said, I picked the tubes I want to use. I want to use this 6FM7. Audio output and preamp. So I have a problem. It's going to red plate really bad. So I was thinking those OC2 or the big one, big bottle OD3 style tubes for not kicking it down, but I thought, well, I can't do that. So I either got to build a negative power supply off the high voltage tap. I used to do it for building Fender amps for the control grid, negative 53 volts or something. I'm going to have to do that with this. Build a negative power supply wherever I can. So it'll take one diode and some resistors, like a, I don't know, 100K from the high voltage tab, and then a resistor to ground, and then you have a variable and some electrolytics with the positives to ground. And I can do that. I'll find the area to do that. I don't know where I'd do it, maybe right here, move wires around and build a negative power supply. Then I can use these and have a potentiometer to bias this tube, because I'm never going to do it the way it is. I don't want to create a whole bunch of heat. This is going to create a whole battle of heat. I mean, this wasn't getting that hot, really, but it was still red plate. And this is, I think it was 490 ohms cold. I'd just stick it on a plate and use it, but it's not the way I want to go. So I have to build a negative power supply if I'm going to continue with these tubes and this high 350 volts or whatever it was. And then I'll have to hide this somehow, put some stuff over it. But I thought that was a good way to stabilize these diodes. I think they're not the 1000 volt 1 amps, they're 600 volt 1 amps, I think. I had the 1000 volt ones, but I listened to somebody saying you shouldn't probably use something that's for a whole very high voltage when you're using less. So there's two of them in series there, if they can be seen. They're hard to see. So those are 1 amps. And there's another set right here. And these are 82 microfarads at 450 volts, I believe. I can't see them. Where the hell is it? Must be this way. I was told by somebody that people don't like me bouncing around with my camera, but I can't help it. My eyes are shitty. I don't look at my emails or stuff. I don't even know how to get into my emails. I'm very poor when it comes to internet stuff. I was born in God's image, like Jesus Christ. We're not ones and zeros. We're analog. Ones and zeros is going to destroy this world. I don't think analog could. It could. I don't think it will. Ones and zeros will destroy everything. You can watch the movie Westworld from the 70s and Demon Seed from the 1970s. And you'll see the future going to the shits. Or listen to the song Monster by Steppenwolf. They go all the way back from when the people come to this country, stole the land from the Indians, and so on and so forth. And the choruses and everything are still true today on what's going on. You have to watch more than one video on YouTube because there's some that you have to watch. The ones with We the People, the signs, and Go Back to Sleep. These different things they put up. But anyways, so I got my modulation. I got shit happening here, but I thought I blew this thing out yesterday. I deleted everything because I didn't like it. I thought I blew this out with feedback of RF. I still don't know if I blew this, if I destroyed this thing with radio frequencies. Radio frequencies, that's another thing I don't know about this being out like this. It shouldn't be out like this because that could feed back. I think I need these RFC chokes on the filaments and all this stuff to push kickback, because when I was using this, I can pick this up and it changes the transmitting, even though I'm just transmitting from the oscillator here, the triode. I'm going to use this. I was going to use this before. When I was starting to experiment with this, I already had this made, and I just do what I do. No right or wrong. I just had, I don't know how many turns here, and then I center tapped it and put more on. But if I use this for the output of the pentode, and I want to get rid of the high voltage from the antenna, so I'm going to cut this. First, I'm going to take this out and put it up here. Then I'm going to cut this and turn it back this much and mount it to where that one was. I just take my diagonals and scrape these. Sandpaper, I was trying sandpaper, it doesn't work worth a crap. The best is my diagonals, my wire cutters, and just keep scraping it. That's the quickest way. I don't like using cigarette lighters and stuff, especially on thin stuff. But this is going to be the transmitting one. I don't even know what the turns are. It's going to change anyways, because this is going to be snipped out, because I don't want any B plus associated with the antenna. So I'll snip that and rearrange the wires. Take this one, wherever I said, take this one, put it up there, and then take this one, take it around, or this one, take it around 3/4, and put it there. And whatever happens, happens. I really don't know what I'm doing as I experiment. I'm like Dr. Fauci. I experiment. Except for I'm not using people of the earth. I'm using, if something happens, it happens to me, not the whole world. The whole world does not have to deal with my consequences if I F it up. So this is 1682 desk. Effing it up one more time. Remember George, Paul and Ringo? No. George, they're good people. George, Bill, the Swamp. This dude here, apparently I'm hearing now that he designed wood ticks that can make you allergic to meat, to beef. So I don't know if that's true or not. So I don't know what's going on. All I know is Jesus Christ died on the cross for us. He got beaten by the deep state, and horrible things happened to him because he's betrayed. I think one of the biggest sins you can do is not murder. It's betrayal. Betray somebody. Shit out at people. Talk behind their backs. That kind of shit I think is the biggest sin you can do. So this is going to be the transmitting one, I think. And I'm going to get that far on this frickin' piece of shit wood. And then I'll remount. If it's successful, I'll remount it to here. But before I'll be working on this off and on throughout the next few days. But I want to get this negative power supply first up and running. So if I got to keep this transformer, I have to, because of the filament volts and isolation. Then I can take my capacitor. This is isolated. This is neutral. This is a yellow jacket inside here. You could see how in the 1950s how somebody didn't have the tube aligned for cutting this. So I still use the tube. So this is brilliant people that figure out how to do this stuff. That one guy works on TVs, yeah, the oldie TVs. Real old TVs. But yeah, so that's neutral. It's just to here right now. I got to continue on. I put a couple star washers on it in Vaseline. I got this here. That's going to have one more of those hoops. I do not put switches on them. I think you should just unplug this, and then you're going to have more things in the way. Or if I got to deal with this negative power supply. This negative power supply. So I think I was thinking about making off the 6.3, making a voltage doubler, but it's not going to be enough voltage. If you come up to like 12 to 20 volts, I don't think it's going to be enough to bring that control grid more negative. I think I have to tap off one of the high voltage tabs here, wherever they are. Where are they? Can you see them? Yeah, right here. Tap off of one of these, and about 100K, I think, and then you got like about a 56K to ground on the far side, and then you have an electrolytic to ground there, positive to ground, and then you have your variable resistor, and then you have another capacitor on that far side, and then you have your negative control grid voltage hooked up to your 1 meg down here. The 1 meg. So I might change that to 220K then. Usually with the negative power supplies they have a 220K resistor. So I got one right there, I guess. That's for the tryout side. So I'm gonna pause this real quick, hook this cassette player up, and see if I blew it out with RF. I'm not sure. Something happened. It was squealing really bad. So this schematic in here, I still plan on building that. I think I will build it. Oh, these things here. I remember these things when I was a kid. I never really gave a hoot about them. But I remember those. I don't know what they were on, how they got in our house. But these things, I still have some of these. They're usually on tone control capacitors and stuff. I have some of them just for keepsake. What's that? My dad's old book. It's a good book. And I thought another way to drop that voltage was have very poorly rectified, filtered DC and use a choke. I think a choke would knock your voltage down, wherever they are. So I'll hook up this piece of crap. It's slipping and everything. I don't know what the hell I got wrong here. I have this power resistor hooked up in here. I have this hooked up here. Going into here, and I know I have my stuff hooked up correctly, but when I plugged it in, I had a fire here. So what the hell went wrong? I wonder if this thing has a polarity problem. I know for 100% fact that neutral, this wider one, goes to this here, this capacitor to here only, This ain't even hooked up to my carry-on negative bus line. I have this hooked up for an antenna, which could have been touching something. I'm not saying it wasn't. It could have touched this metal. But I don't know what happened. So I have to work on this. So right now this thing's plugged in. But this is not. If I enter this, and it's smoked here. I had a tripod. I got one, a shitty one, but I'm not going to try and do this live. I don't know why I did that. This is just hooked up to my probe, this one. This is going like it was from my negative, which the shield should be into here someplace. Goes to the neutral ground someplace. So I don't know what happened here. I really don't. So it has to do something with the negative. Going through the shielded cable, coming to here. And I know, unless if I plug this in my socket wrong, I don't think I can. That's the idea of this being wider. I'll try it once. I'll unplug this and try it. I don't know what this is hanging around. That's just not hooked up to nothing. Crazy. So I am running out of time here. So I am not going to unplug this from here so I can figure out, is this something effed up with this unit here? Because I cannot plug this in incorrectly. I tried it. It will not go in incorrectly. It will not. So I don't know what happened. Meanwhile, back on. I'll just have to finger it. Am I getting shocks? Something just felt like I got a shock. Ouch. I did get a shock. What the F is wrong here? What the F is wrong? Let me unplug this thing. Something that's kind of jittery, like it's AC volts. What the hell is that? When I touch this and this, I get a shock. I wonder if I have short circuit in my tube. Or this stuff. Where? Well, the wire, the center wire, the signal wire goes here, and the shield is in this black sleeve going to neutral. We got high voltage here. Something's going on here. I wonder if this tube is short-circuited on the control grid or control grid to the plate. It's not to the cathode. Otherwise, I wouldn't get a shock. So there's something effed up with this. There is a set amount of voltage here. I should hook up my meter to it and see what it is. If it's a shaky, it feels shaky, it's vibrating. So it's not a clean DC. Otherwise it'd just be like a punch. Something's effed up. I gotta check this tube. I don't know how the control grid and the plate could short out together. It's on this side. I'll try testing this tube, see what's up. Okay, I just rough checked this here. I don't see any shorts, but I did notice this wire here, which is my AC, was touching this. And that would go to my, what the hell would it go to? That's going to That goes to the actually goes to the volume. This is involved with the volume control. But it was touching this, which is this brown shielded cable, which is coming from my volume. It was shaky voltage, very shaky, so it felt like AC. So this would be AC coming from the transformer. But it was really into here. But this is on the plate going to my volume. This side would be to my volume. So I don't know how it would affect my control grid of the triode. So I'm out of time. I'm up to 30 minutes, and this will shut off or start another track at another file at 31 or 32 minutes. So something's messed up. I think the tube's going to test okay. We'll see. Okay, back on. The tube does test good for a quickie. But it would make sense if this is touching this capacitor and somehow it's getting into my input, which is right here. This input touches this 1 meg. Is the hell's this wire about all to do with that? So I had my jumper hooked up to here to run that resistor around, and so it would make sense, because if I'm getting a shock from the input, you would think it's going through a capacitor protecting me. But that's a step, that's a half step away from. That's the plate on the plate of the tube, and the control grid is, where is it? Right here. The control grid is this right here, but I could have a problem right down here. The end of this, that should hook up to, I don't even know if that looks like it's hooked up. Did it break? Somebody doing shit work? Well, it's not broken, it's hooked up with that 1 meg to the control grid, so I don't know. I'm out of time. Orange Beginner's Corner on break.